Hey everybody, I thought I would chat with you guys and gals today a little bit about how artificial sweeteners are really underrated as a fat loss tool. And it's kind of funny because if you were to look at media or you were to look at news stories and things that people or pseudo-experts say, it would sound like this is an extremely controversial topic. But the fact of the matter is it really isn't. It really isn't. And I'm going to go into some of the anecdote in a minute, but the funny thing is that there have been actual studies looking at this that found that using artificial sweeteners actually appears to be correlated with more successful fat loss, right? When researchers actually try to track it and look and see how this works out, the use of these things actually seems to be helpful for fat loss. People who use them in place of normal sweeteners, right, to sweeten food, to sweeten beverages, things like that, tend to be more successful in their fat loss efforts. And the reason for that is pretty straightforward. And it's so funny that so many people go out of their way to try to, make these things sound awful or evil, or it's going to produce an insulin response. Oh no, as if an insulin response is actually associated with, stopping fat loss, right? It really isn't. People who eat diets that are very insulinogenic have no trouble getting shredded for bodybuilding shows down to levels of body fat that can't even be sustained. So if people do that, then it shouldn't be a real concern, right? But it's the exact same thing with artificial sweeteners, isn't it? How many competitive bodybuilders and fitness models get ready for photo shoots, get ready for bodybuilding shows, and get down to levels of body fat that are so lean that you can't even maintain it while using artificial sweeteners? Tons of them. I know tons of bodybuilding prep coaches who love having their clients, when they are getting them ready for bodybuilding shows, to use artificial sweeteners to help stave off their hunger, to stave off their sugar cravings without adding any extra calories to their diet. Okay? And arguments like, well, artificial, I don't think that's natural. It's like, that's completely irrelevant to fat loss. Okay, that's completely irrelevant. Again, there's no logic behind that. Okay, because if you were to use that logic that something that is artificially created automatically is bad for fat loss, then all these fat loss drugs at work would be bad for fat loss. They aren't. In fact, there are drugs that are extremely dangerous that help lose body fat, that are artificial drugs that are so dangerous that they're illegal to even give to humans, but they are extremely effective for stripping body fat off people. Okay, like DNP, and I'm not going to go into why that is. It's very dangerous. I would never use it personally. I would never advocate that a client of mine use it. Okay, not even technically illegal to get a hold of, but you're not supposed to give it to a human. Okay, because it's technically a poison. It's an insecticide. But it causes ridiculous fat loss in people who are force feeding themselves still. Like, I'm talking people who are eating 4,000 or 5,000 calories and force feeding, not cutting anything out of their diet, losing 3 pounds of fat per week. Okay. Now, also it's caused muscle damage, it's caused organ damage, brain damage. In addition to being dangerous to your fat cells, it can be dangerous to other cells in your body too. But you see the point there? Stuff like that is truly dangerous, and it's artificial. But it doesn't stop it from helping people strip body fat off. In the case of artificial sweeteners, we're not dealing with something quite so malevolent, are we? What are we really dealing with? A sugar that's been twisted the wrong direction. Okay? I want to be clear there. So you think about a sugar like a little corkscrew-like shape of it. It's been twisted the opposite direction. So why does that matter? I mean, you can't absorb it or use it. You tend to just excrete it back out, unused. Right? Now, some people get some gastrointestinal distress from it. Some people do, but a lot of people don't. Again, we come over to how many people don't have any gastrointestinal distress and use it right up to bodybuilding shows and come in ripped. You're aware that anything that causes you to have GI tract distress or retained water in the gut will actually smooth out a lot of that definition. Okay? Just an FYI. They do it all the time successful. All the time. Again, I want to be clear here. Artificial sweeteners are utilized all the time as a regular practice by the people who get the documented lowest levels of body fat on earth, competitive bodybuilders and fitness models. Nobody on earth gets as lean as they do. I want to be clear, like track athletes and marathon runners do not on average get as lean as they do. In case you are not aware of this. Because it's an unsustainable body fat. Yet these are tools they utilize to help them get the last bit off, to help stave off the cravings when their body and their brain and their hormones are screaming you're starving to death. It can help keep them from overeating and binging. This is why coaches use it. That's why coaches use it for these people all the time. Again, incidentally, when you look at the broader studies, the research shows they're a successful strategy for helping manage fat loss. They are also, other than in some cases, for the most part, generally appear to be non-harmful. Okay? I want to make that clear. So someone say, well, generally, so there could be exceptions. Yes. But do you want to know what's also really harmful? You want to know what's way more harmful and documented to be far more harmful? Refined sugars. The stuff that you're replacing, table sugar, for example. Regular table sugar is horrific for you. It's terrible for you. Not something you should be eating on a regular basis if you care about your health. If you care about your body fat levels, right? Care about being diabetic. It's not something you should really be consuming on a regular basis. That's way more harmful. If you were to objectively look at all the data. You see the point we're doing here? But artificial sweeteners can replicate all the taste benefits. Hence artificial sweeteners without the calories, without the fructose burden on the liver. Because we need to keep in mind, people want to use words like toxic, but isn't large amounts of fructose toxic to the liver? Isn't that been documented in the lab and in metabolic wards? Don't we know the pathway by which it is? Versus you think something might be toxic, but the data's never really found it to be that case. Potential risk at extremely high amounts that you're unlikely to consume. That's what you're comparing to. And let's be fair, if the worst thing in your diet you can come up with, if you again objectively look at data, is aspartame or something, if that's the worst thing you can find in your diet, you're aware you're in the top 1% in terms of nutritional health. Okay? That's how well ranked you are. That's literally the worst thing that's in your diet. You're pretty much among the elite in terms of how healthy your food intake is and what you put into your body. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.